All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Mrs. Walker, would you lead us in the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sunshine Law Statement. All requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been met for this meeting of the Board of Education of the Borough of Oradell. Notice of this meeting was filed with the Record and Town News and all persons requesting such notice. Mr. Darian, would you read the mission statement?
The Oradell Public School District is dedicated to the ongoing pursuit of educational excellence through comprehensive, innovative curriculum and instruction. The district is committed to providing opportunities for social, emotional, and academic discovery to foster curiosity, courage, and character. Our goal is to prepare our students to become lifelong learners who are self-directed, resilient, productive citizens.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mrs. Needham?
Here.
Mr. Griffin? Here. Mrs. Levy?
Here.
Mrs. Norian?
Here.
Mrs. Shapiro?
Here.
Mrs. Walker?
Here.
Mr. Walsh?
Here.
Mr. Darian?
Here.
Mrs. Nichols?
Here. At this time, we'll open to the public for agenda items only. For those of you on Zoom, raise your digital hand, please. Okay, not seeing any, we'll move forward. I would like to read a statement as we open this meeting. As most people know, one of our students was involved in a very serious sledding accident. Our administration team has been in contact with the family to offer support and resources. The Board of Education will continue to keep this student in our thoughts and prayers. We would like the family to know if you are in need of anything at all, please do not hesitate to reach out to me as a representative of the board or to our superintendent, Mrs. Barbara Longo. I also have a thank you note I would like to read from Ms. Corinne Lynch. It was addressed to me. It says, I would like to thank the Board of Education members for the teacher celebration evening. It was a memorable evening for me, and I appreciated the meaningful comments. As for the clock, it will sit on my mantle when we find a new home. Fond remembrances, Corinne Lynch. So that is from Miss Lynch. We do have our auditor coming this evening. He will be here probably around 8 o'clock. So when he comes, we'll stop our meeting and go to him. So this evening is a very exciting evening for us because once again, we are hiring a superintendent. I would say it was a long process for the board. We spent several hours and put our candidates through several rounds. And we believe and know that we have the best candidate coming in. And everybody knows her. It is Ms. Megan Bozios. We want you to know that we are so excited for you to start. We know that you have been the glue here for the last 7 years. And I'm going to open it up to the board. If anybody would like to say anything, we will be approving her contract under personnel, but would anybody like to say anything before we get there?
Best of luck.
Gonna need it. Mrs. Walker?
Sure. I just am very, very pleased that she accepted our offer. It was not an easy decision, I'm sure, on her part, knowing everything that's involved, but her love of the school and the children is such an advantage for us, and her expertise. So we're looking forward to many, many years with Ms. Bozios as our superintendent.
True. Mr. Griffin?
I just want to comment that our school is extremely lucky to have her coming into this role, and anyone watching at home should know that the process was. We had some great candidates, and there's no doubt in my mind that we picked the very best. And I think that our school and our kids are going to benefit from it. So good luck, Ms. Bozios. You know the job you have ahead of you, and you're going to do awesome. We're really excited.
Mrs. Shapiro?
Oh my God, I wish I'd prepared something in advance because I might ramble for a minute. I met Ms. Bozios in 2012, and I have seen this school transform under her leadership. And I'm so excited for the parents, for the community. I've always said, for me, this school is like a table. You need a strong BA, you need a strong principal, like a tripod, and you need a strong superintendent, and to steer that ship. And I'm delighted, and there are going to be a lot of challenges ahead, but we have the right woman for the team. Congratulations and best of luck.
Anybody else from the board?
Sure. I'd like to wish you good luck. We've had a lot of change within the superintendent position over the years. You've experienced that firsthand as principal. You've seen what was good, what was bad, or what maybe didn't work here in the district. I'm hoping you take that experiences with you in your new position. I can speak for myself, but I'm sure other board members feel similarly. We're a team, and we're here to help, and we'd just like to wish you the most success and good luck. I know that you deserve it, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
Does anybody from the audience like to say anything?
Good evening, everyone. Michael Hagopian, assistant principal. I'm going to follow Mrs. Shapiro's comments with the term leadership. She has demonstrated such leadership, right, for the school. And I have the utmost confidence, and I know the entire faculty, staff, every member of the community knows that she will continue that leadership role as the new superintendent. So I'm very excited for her. I am happy that you all selected her because there is no one more deserving than her for this position. So thank you. And good luck, Ms. Bozios. We got you.
Would you like to say anything now or later?
I sometimes wonder if the blood that pumps through my veins is maroon and gold, because over the last 8 years, I've come to love this community, and I've always loved education. I truly believe in the power of schools and the power of teachers to impact not just the individual child, but a family and a community. The opportunity to combine those two loves, Oradell and education, and serve as superintendent of this district is not an opportunity I take for granted. In fact, poor President Nichols, when she offered the position, I'm not sure she got the response she was hoping for, because I was kind of in shock. It's a big job, and I care so much about this district that I want so much to do it well. I know that my work will show you how grateful I am, but until then, I'd like to make you some promises. I promise you that with every experience, positive or negative, success or failure, I will learn something. And every day I'll be stronger than I was the day before, because it is what I expect from every member of this community, a focus on reflection and growth. I promise you a united leadership, because if we are going to move forward, every member of our community needs to stop saying me and stop saying you, and we need to say we. And the we that we need to focus on is our children. And most importantly, I promise you, if the day comes when I don't have the passion and conviction, and yes, a little bit of the swagger that I have right now, if the day comes when I'm walking outside and I look up at this building and I don't say to myself, how lucky am I to get to lead this community, that's the day I'll show myself the door. Because right now, what education needs and what we need is passion. Every day is hard. It's hard for our kids and our families. It's hard for our teachers, our staff members, and our administrators. Every day feels like a challenge. And you know what? Best practice and research and assessment and data and new technologies, it can make that challenge a little bit less. But that's not where it starts. It starts with a passionate belief that you can make something better for kids. And that's the one thing I can promise you. A passionate belief every single day that we together can make things better for the children of Oradell. I look forward to working with you. Someone told me you need to be a little assertive sometimes. So we're going to all practice something together. Because for 8 years, I have not corrected any of you. My last name is Bozius. So everyone practice that right now. Bozius. You've got it? Because my parents are watching, and I think they'd be a little upset if they knew that I've let you mispronounce my last name for 8 years. So thank you, and let's do this.
We're excited to have you. Can't wait. So as Ms. Bozios said that her reaction. I say it correctly. What did I say? Yeah, let's see your flowers. What did I say?
It's not
Bozious.
us, like it ends in a US.
Yeah, Bozius.
Bozius.
You said Bozios.
Oh, Bozius. Oh.
It's like
Hold
the
on,
Greeks.
let me
start
take
the
one
is.
too.
Bozius.
Hold on.
Come on, Mike.
Wait, okay, yeah.
14 minutes.
Want to get one of just her first?
That's okay, do it together and then I'll do her.
I don't know where I'm looking.
Let me get one of Megan by herself.
Go away.
You got it.
Jeremy, move over.
Do you want us to use your phone?
You want to take your mask
Ms.
off?
Bozius?
Pull your mask
Would
off.
you like us to
Excellent.
use your phone?
No, it's.
Pull your mask
I
down.
know all of you.
Okay.
Yeah, Greg, get some good ones. Greg, get some good ones and send them to her.
Not tweeting this out.
Don't worry,
It's a
someone
little
else will.
uncomfortable.
I don't know why I said your name wrong. I always say it right, but as Ms. Bozius said to us, that it wasn't necessarily when Mrs. Longo and I met with Ms. Bozius to offer her the position, it wasn't necessarily the reaction that we were right away expecting. However, I never told the board exactly what we had planned. So, because I said, I had talked to Ms. Longo over the weekend. I'm like, if she sees my car come in, she's going to think something. So sneakily, we had a buildings and grounds meeting a few days ahead, and Greg was going on about something that he always does. So just out of, and Ms. Bozius wasn't really loving it, the idea. So just out of the blue on Sunday, I told Ms. Longo I was going to text Megan, and I just said, Greg is driving me crazy. Do you know if Ms. Longo will be in the building on Monday? And she said, yeah, she usually comes in after a holiday. I think it was maybe Thanksgiving weekend. I don't know when it was. She said, she should be. I said, he wants us to meet with, he wants me to meet with her and have him come in to discuss this thing with the building. I said, he's driving me crazy. So then I called Miss Longo the next day, and she knew I was doing this. And I said, tell Miss Bozius that Greg and I are coming in and we want to discuss, because he's really on it. He's hot on it. We need to discuss it. I said, because she sees my car come in. So when I got there, she said, oh, Dorothy's here, come on down, and I said, we're waiting for Greg. Meanwhile, Greg was in Florida at the time. So we had her come into the office, but we had a plan that we were going to get into a big fight in front of her. So we had the calendar out, and there was some first day to school, like in September. And I said to Miss, now Megan's sitting in front of me, and Mrs. Longo's here, and we had the calendar, and I said, who's picked this first day to school? And Miss Longo said, I did. And I said, what do you mean you did? And you said, I did. And we got into a pretty heated fight. And I think Megan was a little uncomfortable. And I said, is that your decision? And then Miss Longo said, that's right. And we said, it's your decision. So maybe that's why her reaction wasn't so crazy. But we had to get her, because if she had just seen us show up, then she would have known. And then there was Mr. Darian in Florida getting blamed for the whole being crazy. All right, so it's not 8 o'clock yet, so let's move on to Superintendent's report.
None at this time. Just congratulations.
Do you have anything other than the audit under your report?
Well, I guess I would like to say congratulations to my new partner, Ms. Bozius. So looking forward to working with you. Congratulations. You definitely deserve this, and looking forward to working with you. Like we said, auditor's report is going to be coming tonight. Also, the financial disclosure statements is still being held up on the state level. So as soon as that's ready to go, I'll send out the emails to everyone and let you know you can go ahead and go in and start completing the forms.
Thank you. Let's move on to minutes, review of January 20th and approval of, is that, oh, January 6th, it's close, so January 6th. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve minutes of January 6th.
Second by Mrs. Walker. Any questions? Call the question?
Mrs. Needham?
Yes?
Mr. Griffin?
Yes?
Mrs. Levy?
Yes.
Mrs. Norian?
Yes.
Mrs. Shapiro?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Darian?
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols?
Yes. Committee reports, buildings and grounds, Mr. Darian?
Yes, nothing new. We did have a meeting on February 1st. The minutes are in your packet, but I'll just quickly review a couple of items for the folks on Zoom. We reviewed our budget priorities. This is building and grounds related issues within the 21-22 budget. These are, some of them are maintenance related, some of them are building improvements, some of them are upgrades. We also discussed board goals. Some of our board goals for 2021 is to include improvements to the facility, so we discussed those. We have a retirement within the, our maintenance person is retiring, so we discussed replacement for that person, as well as additional items regarding maintenance for the building. So that's all I have to report.
Thank you. We're going to skip finance items until we have our audit report. We will come back to finance. Oh, curriculum, Mrs. Norian, sorry. I forgot curriculum.
Thank you. Actually, we are attempting to put together a meeting for next Wednesday. We have not met. We have some curriculum to go over so that we're ready to present it to the board. So we're going to look to have a meeting on Wednesday.
Okay. So finance, we are going to skip until after the audit report. Delegate report?
I have no delegate report.
All right. Personnel, Mrs. Walker.
Yes, thank you. We had a meeting this evening and the minutes will be in your packet. We discussed a number of personnel issues and you'll see that forthcoming in the minutes. I'd like to present F1. I'll second it.
Any questions? Call the question?
Mrs. Needham?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes?
Mrs. Levy?
Yes.
Mrs. Norian?
Yes.
Mrs. Shapiro?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Darian?
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols?
Yes. Policy, Mrs. Levy?
I have nothing to report except that I will touch base this week about trying to schedule a new meeting in the next week or so.
Public relations, Mr. Griffin?
No new meetings.
Would you like to give an update on the task force meeting we had?
Sure. We had a COVID task force on February 3rd, discussed some potential option. At the time, we were talking about the recent cases and decision on whether or not to close, and the county's recommendation to close. Also talked about options for sectioning off the building vaccine access, trying to make sure that anything we can do to help ensure our teachers get access to the vaccine when they are, as soon as possible. Dashboard of COVID impact on staffing, and discussed, briefly a little bit about some testing models that some other organizations are doing, like the SHIELD program at U of I, as potential things to consider, but no direct action or recommendations on doing that, just considering for the future.
Okay. I guess we'll keep moving and then just wait for our auditor. So I will open to the public for any comments. Online, if you can just raise your hand. I'm going to, Rami, could you unmute Daniela Bosco? Oh, well, that's okay. I'm calling on Daniela Bosco. Daniela?
Yes, hi. Just wanted to say congratulations to Miss Bozius. Well deserved. I'm very happy for you.
Thank you for joining us. So you said Miss Hawley? Miss Hawley?
Hi, everyone.
We can hear you. That's good.
So never before have I been so disappointed not to be at a board meeting. Normally, our late evenings are not always what I look forward to. But I just wanted to share my congratulations. I have worked in many places over the last 24 years of education, and I have never before worked with a leader that helps other leaders grow like Megan Bozius. So I am very excited to continue on this journey and continue to work as part of your team, Ms. Bozius. I am really looking forward to whatever it is we do next, unless it's another sliming. I'm not doing that again.
Thank you for joining us. Any other comments? $22.
26.
Rami, well, 22 attendees of the, yeah. Rami, could you unmute Ms. Jennifer Koth? Is she unmuted? Okay,
Here I am.
we can hear you.
Hi. I do not particularly like to public speak, but I just wanted to publicly congratulate Ms. Bozius on her new appointment. While it will be difficult to lose her as a principal for my last year at OPS next year, I think that she will do amazing things as the new superintendent of OPS. So I just wanted to say congratulations to her in this forum. So I think you guys did a great job in your appointment. So as a parent, thank you for that.
Thanks for joining us. Anyone else? Any family members want to give us a good story? We're always open to a good story. Rami, could you unmute Miss Kelly Castro?
Hi, can you hear me?
I hear you.
Hi, I just wanted to say congratulations to Miss Bozius. Thank you for telling us how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry for mispronouncing it for so long. Just wanted to wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, so let's move to old and new business. Oh, we have one. Can you please unmute Bill Meehan?
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Hi, yes. I have a question. Who makes the decision on the quarantine policy? It's my understanding that right now OPS has a stricter quarantine policy than the CDC and New Jersey State. And then my second part is why is there not a virtual option for kids, at least in K through 3, that are in quarantine? They just get no class instruction right now. I think we're just failing the kids that way. Thank you.
I'm going to turn this, can I ask you a question before you sign off? When you say quarantine, you mean when we have a student who needs to quarantine or when we actually close for 2 weeks?
Yeah, when a student needs to quarantine. I know you have a virtual option when the school decides to quarantine. Obviously, we just went through 2 weeks of that. But when an individual kid has to quarantine because they, say, traveled outside of a border state.
I'm going to ask Ms. Bozios to take that. Ms. Bozios, I did it twice.
We actually do use the 10-day quarantine for travel only. So if it's a close contact, we're not allowed to use the 10-day quarantine because we are currently in the orange range on the matrix from the New Jersey Department of Health. So we must use a 14-day, but our travel quarantine since the winter break has been 10 days. In terms of streaming, the truth is, if the child, we've used different policies. If a parent is traveling, it is very difficult for that quarantine period. We have a lot of parents that are traveling and then quarantining for 10 days afterwards. It just becomes a strain on the school, and travel is a choice. So if a family is quarantining because of a positive family member, we have tried to find some means to do some streaming for a small period of time in the classroom.
Thank you. Could you please unmute Mr. Radishwar?
Hi, we just wanted to congratulate Ms. Bozios on becoming superintendent. Good luck.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much for joining us. All right, finally a family member. Could you unmute Miss Brianne Kay? I hope she has some good stories. Brianne, you're not unmuted. Hold on, we can't hear you. Hold on. Okay.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say congratulations to my aunt. We're all so proud of you, and really, there's no one else who deserves it as much as you do. So congratulations again, and we wish you the best of luck. We love you.
Thanks for joining us. Who else is there with you? Who else is there?
They don't want to be on camera.
Come on, come to the camera. Let's see.
They refuse.
Okay. We're so happy you joined us, though.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Great.
Okay, not seeing any, we'll move to old and new business from the board. Anybody have anything? Ms. Levy?
So first I want to say congratulations to Ms. Bozios. No.
Bozious.
Bozious. I didn't say it earlier because I was really thinking about what I wanted to say, and as I sat here, I'll never forget when I first started kindergarten and you were doing orientation and you talked about how Oradell Public School is the center of town. And it really, everything revolves around OPS. And I couldn't agree with you more. And I think if there is one person that people associate with OPS, it's definitely you. And that is an indication of all the hard work and time and dedication you gave to not only OPS, but the community and our children. So I just wanted to congratulate you and look forward to working with you in this new role. My other thing was, as many of you might have heard, or I wanted to share some news about some of the students at OPS that was really exciting. I know about previously we've had a presentation by the third graders who participate in the academics. And so for those of you who don't know, the Academics Cup was last week. And I will also say it was not without any craziness, because they were participating on Friday when the power went out in town and all the kids were at home and couldn't play for a short period of time. But I wanted to congratulate Ms. Pisa's third grade class. They came in third place in the world for multiplication fact fluency, earning a total of 289,245 points. The class competed against students from the United States, as well as Sweden, Canada, Pakistan, Belgium, and England. And they won a pizza party. And I also wanted to congratulate, there were several students that won top scores, most points, and the most correct in a row. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 students from her class. So congratulations. I know I've now gone through the Academics Cup twice, and I've never seen students more excited to be at school or in front of their computer at 7:45 in the morning. I saw on Zoom, they needed Gatorade to keep their strength up and everything. It was really cute. And it's just an indication of some of the great work that's going on here. So congratulations to those students.
Any other old or new business? Mrs. Walker?
I neglected to mention that congratulations to John McManus on his up-and-coming retirement, and certainly we're going to miss him here at OPS, and I guess maybe a next meeting or
We'll be having a
we'll be
retirement,
having
yeah.
it, but right. But sorry to see his name here on retirement, but congratulations, John, and wish you all the best.
I would just like to remind the community that the Boy Scout Fish and Chip Dinner is coming up, and even though you can't eat in our multipurpose room, they are doing, I believe, a drive-by at the Veterans Hall, right, the Senior Center? It's online, so Boy Scout Fish and Chips, February 27th. Ah, I see our auditor. Perfect timing. Any other old or new business? Mrs. Levy?
I have one other question that just came up. I was thinking, has there been any discussion from the state about work once teachers are approved about helping, how buildings can help their teachers get vaccinated, or has that?
Do you know anything about that, Barbara? Or I think it's just, they haven't even opened it up yet, right?
No, they haven't
Yeah.
opened it up. I was just.
I think you just got to probably go online. It's a disaster in New
Okay,
Jersey.
so they're not going to do any, okay, thank you.
Any other old or new business? Mrs. Walker?
Just a quick aside in thanking, it's a townwide thank you to all the folks who donated food and clothing to the Rotary coat, hat, gloves, and food drive 2 Saturdays ago. It was an outpouring of such great generosity. on the part of many of our residents, in addition to those in surrounding towns. And
it was freezing that day you guys were out there.
it was freezing, but we were warmed by the spirit and the enthusiasm and donation of so many people. Truckloads and truckloads of clothing were distributed, and some to very needy organizations that hopefully go right to the streets of our intercities with beautiful coats, jackets, hats, beautiful blankets. So we really appreciate it, and it just makes your heart proud to say, here we are again. Oradell is such a giving, beautiful place. So thank you.
And our clothing came in just in time before this first snowstorm.
True.
So we managed to get it donated and given to people right away.
That's good. Okay, Mr. Bliss, you're up.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi,
Hi.
thanks for coming.
Here to present the audit for the 1920 year. Each board member should have received the comprehensive annual financial report, clear color book, commonly referred to as the CAFR, and then the smaller one, which is the auditor's management report, or referred to as an AMR. In the CAFR report is our independent auditors' reports on your financial statements and our independent auditors' report on your compliance with state and federal grants, where we have to give an opinion. Our opinion in both cases is unmodified. Unmodified is a clean opinion. Means your financial statements are fairly stated. They're prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, and there were no scope limitations in performing the audit, as well as our opinion on your compliance with state and federal grants is also unmodified, clean opinion, meaning you complied in all material respects with the grant compliance. Unmodified opinions are an absolute must in any audit. And again, the district has, in both cases, unmodified opinions. With respect to financially, I'm going to just refer you to page 75, where there's a summary of fund balance. You're going to be starting your budget process for the 21-22 year, and you're going to, probably ask, well, how much money do we have going forward to fund future expenses? And on page 75 is a summary of fund balance of the general fund. It's the last page of Exhibit C1. Exhibit C1 is your budgetary comparison schedule. Probably one of the most important schedules from the perspective as a board member, because it gives you a full accounting of the budget, revenues, and expenses. On the bottom of 75 is the summary of your fund balances, and not all fund balances can be used as the board sees fit. The board in prior years and in this year did resolutions to put money away for specific purposes, and I'm going to go through those accounts. Under restricted fund balance, the first item there is capital reserve of $712,970, represents the amount of money or fund balance the district has set aside to fund future capital projects. They have to be capital projects that are in your long-range facility plan, and they have to be state-eligible projects. This whole entire $712,970 has not been earmarked for any specific project. So it is available to fund future projects. In addition to that reserve, you have a maintenance reserve of $443,157, which you have not earmarked, and $200,000, which you are currently using in 2021 to fund maintenance projects. The $443,157 is available going forward to fund future projects. The $200,000 is in the 2021 budget. If you don't spend it all, it'll go back and replenish the 443. Both reserves, capital and maintenance, cannot be used for operating costs. You can't use it for teacher salaries, tuition, health benefits. Capitals for capital, maintenance is for maintenance projects. The difference between the two is capital adds value to the buildings, adds life to the buildings. Maintenance keeps the building in their current working condition, doesn't add life. In addition, we had an emergency reserve of $217,755. That's money that's been set aside, can be used to fund security projects if you fund it through the original budget you adopt. You can't do it during the year. You can't take it out during the year. And you can use it to fund unbudgeted health benefit costs that come in over 4%. You could do that by resolution during the year. The 217,755 is very difficult to get money out of here. For any other purpose, you need to get the county executive superintendent's approval. Excess surplus. In New Jersey, there is a rule that you can only have 2% surplus, what they call unassigned fund balance. That's like surplus that's available to fund future expenses, any type of expense. Anything over the 2% that doesn't go into your reserve accounts goes into the excess surplus reserve. When we closed the year, June 30th, 20, after we made the transfers into capital reserve and into maintenance reserve, we were left with $478,757 over the 2%. Those monies must be used by statute for the 21-22 budget as a revenue source. So when you do your 21-22 budget, you will see fund balance appropriated in that budget at the minimum of $478,757. You have no choice. Has to be used in 21-22. The next item of excess surplus designated for subsequent use of $300,000 represents the excess surplus from the prior year, June 30th, 19, that you're using now in the current year, 2021. Those funds are financing expenses in this budget. They're no longer available going forward to fund future expenses. Then we have assigned fund balance, year-end encumbrances, a little over $77,000, close to $78,000. Those are open purchase orders for commitments the district made at the end of the year to buy certain goods and award certain contracts, but the goods or services have not been received as of June 30th. We really don't owe anybody money because we didn't get anything. But once the goods have come in and the services are rendered, we liquidate those POs, and they are, by this point in time, liquidated and no longer available to fund future expenses. They're just committed at the end of the year. Under assigned designated for subsequent years, expenditures of $55,120 represents the additional fund balance that the district chose to use to balance its 2021 budget. You did your budget, you did all your expenses, you did all your revenues, you put the $300,000 of excess surplus you had to use in the 2021 budget. You then chose to use an additional $55,120 to balance that budget and get a tax rate that the board was comfortable with. Those monies are no longer available going forward. You're using them now to fund expenses. That leaves you with the unassigned fund balance, what they used to call free balance or the true surplus of $354,112. It represents the maximum the district is allowed to have at the end of the year in unassigned fund balance. It represents 2% of your budget, roughly, which is $254,000. Plus, you get an add-on for certain unbudgeted state aid, which was your extraordinary aid of about $100,000, and that gives you the $354,000 in total. The key to the $100,000 extraordinary aid is the board during this year, the 2021 year, can appropriate that $100,000 of unbudgeted state aid in this year's budget without requesting approval from the state. The only time you need approval is if you go into construction, capital outlay construction services. Overall fund balance is $2,839,714. The district ended in a very good position, very sound, very stable financially, with some good reserves. Your maintenance reserves at its max. Can't put any more money in there until you use it. So I would say from a financial point of view, you had a very good year. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer. Okay. And seeing none, the smaller report, the auditor's manager report, on the last page, that page. Page 12. We had 3 recommendations. None of these were considered material or internal control weaknesses, which is important. Under financial planning, accounting, and reporting, with the turnover in personnel, you had basically 3 people in the position. The previous BA, an interim BA, and then finally John came in. The budget that's in the accounting system in total agrees to the budget you adopted, but the individual line accounts do not. And some of them were off, considerable amount, but they didn't agree. And there's all kinds of rules with transfers and stuff. So, that has to absolutely be in agreement to what you approved. And then you work off of that as far as transfers. Under the extended year summer program, in reviewing the financial operations, it doesn't appear that the salaries allocated to the program appear correct. You need to go and review those allocations to see if certain salaries shouldn't have been charged there. And then we'll make the appropriate adjustment if you find out whatever, shouldn't have been there, we will make it next year. So our recommendation there is recommended that the district review the operations of the extended summer program to ensure costs are properly allocated and revenues are sufficient to cover costs. If you operated the program at the amount of money that was charged there, you would run out of money. It's just, you got to take a look at it, and we got to fix that next year. And then finally, for facilities and capital assets, this is something really resulting from the turnover in personnel as well as the change in the computer system. The fixed asset records of the district were not updated for the year, and they weren't updated the year before, and they weren't updated this year. So that has to be done annually. Because you do the fixed assets internally. A lot of districts do not. They hire an outside service. All your detailed information is in the old accounting system. It has to be transferred over to the new accounting system, and then all the assets that were not recorded have to be added in. Those are the 3 recommendations. Overall, it's good report. Financially, you're in really good shape. And again, you had no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in internal controls.
Any questions from the board? Mr. Griffin?
Yeah, back on page 75, that fund balance, pre-governmental funds, the gap. What's the standard on that, recommendation for a percent compared to the total budget for a district?
Could you repeat that, please?
Which line?
So the gap, I think it's the fund balance, pre-governmental funds, page 75, 2,629,556. That whole page.
The bottom number.
Yes, I'm wondering what the standard is for other school districts, or what the percent is as a recommendation for that.
In total, there is no standard because the only standard is the unassigned fund balance, where it can't be more than 2%, which personally is not enough, from a financial point of view. It's hard to say district to district. It's all about what your capital needs are. If you have significant capital needs, you need to have a decent capital reserve. If you have buildings that need a significant amount of maintenance, you want your maintenance reserve to be at its max, which you really are. Your emergency reserve is basically close to the max. Your max is about 250. It is 250. You're at 217. You're at 250 for years. You used some money last year for security projects, about 32,000. And the excess surplus really changes year to year based on where you put the money into the reserves. So the bottom line is there is really no standard on the total. It's really line by line how they look at it. And how, it's different for each district based on their needs.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, Mr. Bliss, you mentioned that for maintenance reserve, we're pretty much, at the maximum level. Capital reserve, we have $712,000. How does that compare to other districts? How large can a capital reserve account get to?
The calculation is 60% of the projects in your long-range facility plan. So if your long-range facility plan was at 10 million, you would be able to put 6 million in there. It's really all across the board. I got to tell you, there's districts that have lots of money there, and there's districts that have very little. And it's really how financially sound you are. In your case, for your size district, 712 is I would say, average amount.
Okay.
I think, the way I look at it is it's important that you use the money for the purpose it's there for. Not just accumulate for the purpose of accumulate, which certain districts do. I think it's more important that you put it there and then you use it for the purpose it's there for. Because in the end, you don't have to pay interest costs and referendum costs to do projects or lease purchase and get into debt. You're taking money that you saved in the budget and putting it away for long-term assets, which is a good thing.
Mrs. Walker?
Thank you for the whole report. But my question, if we look at the budget this year and in past years, not 1920, the impact of the pandemic and the spending is, and we look like we're very financially sound and so on. Do many districts have a problem with the over expenditure to get their buildings ready and so on?
The strange thing is, under the pandemic, most districts didn't spend at the same level as they have in the past. The expenses related to COVID for cleaning and buying computers was funded through the CARES Act, the Digital Divide Grant. And what we're seeing in the majority of the districts is they actually ended the year in better financial condition than they would probably have if they continued to operate. Because costs such as transportation, even though the governor said you have to pay the contractors, you didn't have to pay them their profit. You just paid them, what their cost was to pay for their leases and their salaries. So people save money in those areas. They save money in related services. They save money in energy. And what we're seeing is that they're not spending at the same rate, that they normally would under a full school year where all the kids are in the building and, normal year. It's kind of strange.
Mr. Griffin?
I was going to ask you two questions if possible. I don't know what our long-term range plan, how much that budget includes. I don't know if that's in this plan somewhere or somewhere else, but I would like to see if we're within that 60% or not on it. So if we don't have that here, that's fine. The other question I had was related to the unassigned fund balance. It does look like that is coming in at like 2.7% compared to the 2% that you mentioned. Can you help me understand that and what happens with that, the fact that that's over 2%?
Okay, so you get the 2%, which it's actually 2% of expenditures, and there's a calculation in the smaller report on how it's done. You get the 2% plus you get an add-on for, in your case, unbudgeted extraordinary aid that came in during the year. So if you budgeted $30,000 to receive extraordinary aid and you brought in $100,000, you get 2% plus the extra 70 of that unbudgeted aid. That's what the state allows you to do. So it's hard to 2% off the expenses plus the extra state aid you receive from extraordinary aid. That's how you get to roughly the 3%. And if you look, there's a calculation in the smaller book, page 11, that goes through that calculation.
Okay, I just want to understand, so when we're looking at building our budgets for future years, we know we have a 2% cap. I don't remember exactly how much of the cap we took when we did this. I'm sure I can look back and find out. But if I'm reading this right, and I just want to make sure I understand, we increased our budget by whatever that amount was, and then we are ending up with a 2.7% excess. Is that right? Is that a proper way of understanding it?
You ended up the year with it, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Well, can I just clarify something?
Yes.
That unassigned didn't increase by 2%. It increased by 31,000 from the year before, because the year before you had the max. So it didn't increase by 354,000 from the year before. It only increased by 31,000. Because you started the year with like 331,000 in that account.
Mr. Walsh?
Can you tell me, in this summer program, why we overspent 108,000?
Can I answer that?
Are we going to collect that overage from the people who received it?
Can I answer that?
Yeah, of course.
So, Mr. Walsh, as far as we know, the summer program did not overspend. It's that we were in between BAs. Our one BA had left, our new BA was on here, we had an interim, and we had a different, I believe, payroll person. So during the summer, a lot of salaries, summer salaries, like let's say when our teachers go to the Paramus literacy class, a lot of salaries were dumped into that account. So basically, we just now need to back them up and make the adjustment. It wasn't that the summer school overpaid. It was just that, I guess it was payroll just assigned them to the wrong fund.
So somebody put it in the wrong account?
Yes. And that's what's come out through the audit. So the BA has already started working on it, and he's going to go through every line, and he's going to pull out the salaries that should not have been there, and then our auditors are going to make the adjustment. And then we'll look at the summer, but from what we understand, the summer did not overspend.
Okay.
But we're going to look at that after we pull out all those numbers.
So this is just a reporting discrepancy then?
We had the option to either make the change for this report, but according to Mr. Bliss, it's not a material amount to the state. So since it would have taken a while, we are going to make the adjustment in this year. Is that correct, Mr. Bliss?
Yes, we
Yes,
need to.
because it's not a material amount to the state, so we did look into it.
Yes, and because you have to now go back and you got to analyze the charges and make sure you get it right. And then we will make the required adjustment.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Bliss.
Thank you.
We'll see you next year.
Yes, thank you. Good night.
So let's go back to finance, technology. Mrs. Shapiro?
Hi, sure. So Finance Committee met Monday evening. We reviewed the audit a little bit. We had a preliminary discussion about the budget for 21, 22. But we are going to meet again in 2 weeks, 12 days. And it'll be with all of our papers in front of us. It was a little more challenging on Zoom. So we'll have everything in front of us. So stay tuned in 12 days. This evening, I'd like to make a motion to approve items D1 through D7.
I'll second it. Second by Mr. Walsh. Any questions? Mr. Griffin?
I do have a question on both D4 and D5. Can you explain a little bit more about the Medicaid initiative and why would we be requesting a waiver? I'll start with that question first.
John, do you want to take that one? We do it every year, I think, right? Yeah.
So with D4 for the Medicaid waiver, we receive those numbers from the county each year. And if we're under 40 students that are eligible, we can apply for the waiver. So we have to recognize this in a formal board resolution that will go in the budget.
Does it have a budgetary impact?
Very, very small. So the work to get the money that would be required from here it would take a lot more time than it would be worth. That's why they allow for a waiver.
On the approval of the legal cost per pupil indicator, is this something that we've experienced in previous years? I see that we've exceeded the 130% of the statewide per pupil average.
So that's something we pretty much experience every year. And a lot of districts will run this resolution when they run their budget, when they approve the budget formally, because it's really based on budgeted numbers. So we just kind of happen to do it when we get the audit report, but yeah, a lot of people go over. It's based on budgeted numbers. So it's based on what districts budget for legal, not what they actually spend.
Did we see an increase in legal spending this year compared to last year?
Well, this year, meaning the audit year?
The audit year, the 1920.
Approximately $3,000.
That represents about a 10% increase?
I guess it went from 36,168 to 39,181.
Okay.
However, the year before that, it was 77,242. So we're in negotiation. So it's going to fluctuate depending on what's going on. You can't.
Okay.
Madam President,
Mr. Darian?
Can you describe some of the concerns that go into the budgeting process as it relates to legal fees and why you would want to put in extra funds in that line in the budget?
Well, we always, these last 2 years, we came in under budget. What we do always, I won't say over budget because we don't know what the year is going to be, but we never know if we're going to have a special education case, which we have in the past. Depending if it's a negotiations year, we have a line for negotiations. And just general, if we have a grievance, anything happening with anything in the building, but we generally try to be safe with our budgeting. We did come under this year. Our budget number was 50,000 and we came in at 39,181.
I'd also like to mention that, this is directly impacted by things that are occurring across the state and across the nation. So, we were dealing with Chapter 78 negotiations. We were dealing with changes in healthcare insurance. We were dealing with, like this year with COVID. So all those unknowns cause you to consult with your attorney on a more frequent basis. So it's not exactly that we weren't in tumultuous times. So we tend to make sure that we're protected and that we fund each area of the operations of the building, including our legal costs, appropriately.
Mrs. Walker?
And just to piggyback on what Mr. Darian said, I think that it's better to err on the side of caution when we're not sure to seek legal counsel. It will be less costly than to make an error and move forward with a decision we think is appropriate when it's not, and then become involved in a lawsuit, which certainly could ring the register very high. So,
Mr. Griffin?
Is there any way you guys, someone could outline what the procedures are that we've determined that we are not worth implementing? There's a statute mentioned here, and the whereas list that these are not going to affect. So I just think it's worth the rest of the board to realize what we're bypassing this.
Can you say that again?
So there's a whereas the Oradell Board of Education has determined that implementation of further procedures outlined in, and then it lists NJAC 6A beyond the aforementioned procedures already implemented would not significantly reduce legal costs. I think it's important for us to read out what those would be so that folks know that we are all agreeing that these things wouldn't help cost.
Do you want to read the statute?
Someone should.
Well, I think
Let me ask you a question. Are you really concerned with our legal fees being 130%? Because pretty much everyone does it. Do you think we are spending too much in legal fees? Like I just want to get to where you're coming from. Maybe I can, before we read a whole statute.
I don't know. I just know that we've exceeded the 130. There's a reason it exists for that. So that's all I'm just trying to understand. The 130%. This is, there's a reason we're having to do this, right?
But the 130% is not off of people's actuals. It's off of budgeted numbers. So what the state does is they take everyone's budgeted legal costs and they come to a per pupil for your group. Now that may hold, or it may be completely different after the year. I do think you should look at the paragraph before where it says, whereas the Oradell Board of Education has undertaken steps to reduce these costs. Basically, in Oradell, and actually, I don't know in other districts, but there's only 4 people that can call the attorney in Oradell. It's the superintendent, it's the BA, usually, right, without permission. It's the director of special services, and it's the board president. So I'm not sure who you're talking to there, but if they want to say something, they can.
Just trying to understand it and wanting to, I don't know if maybe this is something that is worth tabling, and we could we can all make sure that we review that statute to understand it, and maybe look at the legal bills to understand if it's being used appropriately.
Let me put this into a little bit of perspective, because I saw it was on Facebook, so I knew it was going to come up this evening. So I just started pulling some different districts. So let me just read some from the 1920 year. So our number for 1920 was, what was it? 39,181. River Edge, 46,900. Haworth, 40,158. Franklin Lakes, 59,400. Demarest, 43,109. Saddle River, 42,095. Wyckoff, which is bigger than us, but a K to 8, 96,362. Norwood, less kids than us, 82,472. We're very careful here. I know we want to put out to the public that, this is just a standard thing that the state has. Pretty much everyone runs this every year. Mrs. Levy?
I understand what Mr. Griffin is getting at, and I understand the wanting to compare ourselves to other districts, but I also think that, and I don't want to put words in your mouth if I am doing this, but whenever we have a question or want to make sure that we are doing something correctly, it doesn't necessarily mean that certain members have to go on the defensive. We each were elected to this position, and there's certain things that we want to make sure, and just because we want to make sure that the money is being spent properly, or it doesn't mean that someone did something wrong, it's just that we're trying to look what's best for the district. So to say, like, I saw this on Facebook, which and you knew it was going to come up, and like whatever, that just makes it more I don't know.
I just wanted to be prepared because I knew it was going to come up, but I don't think anyone's defensive, but I just want to know where the basis is for where we think we're overspending when we see other districts are spending more than us. But maybe our attorney here, would you know what's outlined in NJAC 623 that Mr. Griffin is reading off of his phone from somebody already implemented would not significantly reduce legal costs? Could you maybe talk to this?
I am familiar with it. So one of the things that you mentioned is the restriction of access to the board attorney. And that is what the statute that's cited is recommending. That detailed legal bills, when there is a special education litigation matter, our bills, you might not see the student's name because we keep that confidential. We'll use initials or we use a student ID number, but we're very detailed. So we're complying with that statute, restricted access to the board attorney, detailed bills. They require like a log that you can use that, and we use our bills to show as everything that has been done in a litigation matter or a grievance matter. So we're satisfying the statute, and this resolution is saying that you've done all that, and it is still 130% of what was budgeted.
Call the question.
Are board members not privy to those to your billing?
You can see the bills.
So I guess I think again with Mr. Griffin asking if we can, if this is something that could be tabled, I wonder if seeing legal bills or seeing how the money is being spent, if that helps at all.
Well, what's the
Mr.
purpose
Griffin?
of tabling it? Because let's say you go and you see something you don't like, we still have to do something about this resolution.
I understand. For one, if I don't know how the money is being spent, then how do I know that we are taking those procedures to significantly reduce? I guess is.
I can say that it's only access. Those four positions are only access to the board attorney.
That's how you reduce your bills, access, exactly.
And detailed bills. So if it's my firm or if it's another firm with conflict or in any of those special education litigation matters or a grievance, very detailed. So it satisfies the log that we have to provide detailed what exactly was being done. And this resolution is saying you've done those two things that the code has said, but it still came in 130% of what the budget was. And that's why you need this resolution.
Are any prepayments made?
No. No retainers, no prepayments.
Who are you talking to?
What do you mean?
You're texting somebody.
No, I'm reading the statute that we all should. The only way anyone should be voting on this is if you have read the state shed. It refers to it, so that's what I'm doing.
I'm pretty sure you voted on it last year and the year before. Every year.
I'm not texting anyone. I wouldn't do that.
No, I'm saying we voted on it every year. Mrs. Walker.
So
I'd like to
I'm
make a-
confused. If we're voting on this is for this coming year, we've already spent the money. So why would you not vote on it, but maybe if you're concerned about overspending, be more careful or look into, but what would be the sense to table it? What would we learn from it, since we know what that statute says? And if you want to add to it, what did you find there, Jeremy, that might help us or help you to understand, but to table it, for what reason?
I was just asking a question if it was possible. I haven't made a motion to table it, so I wanted to see if it was possible. You know, like, the reason I'm bringing it up is it seems like there is some standard that we shouldn't exceed 130%. It is something that we have exceeded, so I think I'm just trying to do the due diligence, but I haven't made a motion to table. I just asked if it was possible.
Okay, and I understand that, and that's good to do the due diligence.
I'd like to make a
Mr.
comment.
Darian?
So our budgets are available for you if you'd like to review the budget for this current year. We're in the process of developing a budget for next year. You're entitled to see the budget. So, you know, I just suggest not only legal, but you can go through the entire budget and see where the money is going. I think it's a healthy exercise. You know, the amount of money we're talking here is really nothing compared to what we really spend money, the big money on. So, you know, I understand your concern. You know, you do have the information available to you. And, you know, as we develop our budget moving forward, I just want to reiterate, it'll be given to you. And if you want to see our old budget, you can contact the business administrator. And I just want to reiterate, it's just good to get familiar with those line items and see how there are changes over time and how much we spend in total. So, you know, out of our $12+ million budget, you know, where is that money's going? And then, and that'll give you some perspective, you know, that's all.
And I think this is referencing, if I'm not mistaken, not necessarily the budget. I think what we're getting at is the expenses. Is actually not how much is budgeted, but where that money, where the line items are. I understand as I review where they go, but this is referencing money that was spent, expenses, not how, and I understand as you're saying they're using the budgeted baseline.
Right.
This is because of a $3,000. So, and just an example. So sometimes when there's a dispute over an IEP or a service that can be provided in district, whether they want some, maybe a parent wants some more hours of occupational therapy or physical therapy, and we can't find it in the schedule, and they'll make a request for a due process or mediation, easily over $3,000 for that. We're required to go to Newark at the Office of Administrative Law. You sit around, the attorney, director of special education, sometimes a principal or an administrator, and we sit around for hours. Easily $3,000 in one day, just doing that. So that's what we're talking about, $3,000.
This is Pooja. I have a comment. Not really related to the specific resolution, but just maybe, you know, is there a need to true up some of the budget that we are going to put in place for the upcoming year? Meaning so that we don't have that 130% differential. Can we try to reduce that by budgeting more correctly?
But we could budget zero, but we're still going to spend. So when we come through the audit and we see what we spent, that number is going to be compared to everyone's budget number. So that.
Right. So I think, yeah, what I was trying to say was, shouldn't we budget closer to the number that we are expecting to see, in the sense, you know, we obviously have some discrepancy, right, in how much we're budgeting versus how much we're actually spending?
Yes. We do try to budget as close as what we think. I mean, next year we'll probably be budgeting more because it's a negotiations year. We do do try to do that.
Call the question.
Did you have your hand up, Mrs. Dorian?
I was just going to say, we're really talking about here, regardless of the amount of money, we're talking about exceeding 130% of the statewide per pupil average. That's what we're dealing with. We're not dealing with what we are budgeting.
Budgeted.
Right.
Not actually spent from the districts.
But it's a statewide per pupil average that we're looking at.
Any other questions?
Call the question.
Call the question?
Mrs. Negum,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Mrs. Levy,
Yes.
Mrs. Norian,
Yes.
Mrs. Shapiro,
Yes.
Mrs. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Darian,
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols.
Yes. I'm going to actually open it up to the public at this point because they were not able to, when I opened it up to the public the second time, it was not, they were not able to hear our audit report. So I'm going to open it up just for questions on the audit report, if there are any at this time. Okay, not seeing any. Does anybody have a need to go into a closed session? I don't think so. Okay,
I move to adjourn.
Mrs. Norian.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Walker. She beat you today.
Beat 'em. It's okay.